In this video, I united all countries into one super faction and made them immediately declare war on USSR. Can I survive and spread the revolution across the world? Or will the capitalists just overrun me and I give up? Let's try this challenge. We have only 24 days to prepare and got to act quickly. The starting Soviet army is the strongest in the game, but it's under-equipped and definitely not large enough to protect all the Soviet borders. Following this, part of our eastern troops will be disformed. The rest will retreat from the Siberia and entrench on the Ural Mountains. Good luck for the Allies to survive the Siberian winters. Abandoning the east will allow us to form two infantry armies, which would hold the south at Caucasus and Ukraine. Our best mechanized troops are divided into two corps and moving to the north. The third corps under General Zhukov should secure the Leningrad area and take Finland out of the war. After that, these troops should join the first corps in the Baltic states and help them with the invasion in Poland. Marshals Tukhachevsky and Blücher would lead troops here to take our revenge for Brest-Litovsk Treaty. On January 25th, the capitalist world declared war on us, literally every country in the world. But they don't know yet what I have prepared for them. The same day as mechanized troops arrived in Leningrad, Zhukov launched an offensive. Finnish Border Division didn't expect Soviets to attack in this direction, and especially this time of the year. In February, the Red Armor broke through the Mannerheim line, and just in 2 weeks entered the city of Helsinki. Most of the Finnish forces were repelling our distracting cavalry brigades at the north, so our troops were advancing almost without resistance, and on March 25th, main forces of the Finnish government capitulates. Meanwhile, Tukhachevsky infantry forces with strong air support entered Estonia and Latvia, setting up foothold for further breakthrough towards the capitals. On March 3rd, Soviet Union scores important victory. Estonian governments capitulates and flee the country. Polish expeditionary forces failed to help the Tallinn defenders, was encircled and destroyed in a forest area south to the capital. Polish-Latvian forces suffered a crushing defeat at Riga. This allows the 1st Mechanized Corps to force the Daugava River and capitulate the Latvia in March 23rd. In March 28th, parts of the 1st Mechanized Corps entered Šiauliai and just in 2 days advanced in 150 kilometers deep, capturing Kaunas. On April 7th, the Mechanized Corps securing Klaipėda and meet up against the Western forces. Reinforcements stopped Blücher advance at the south. Given this, he orders to change the direction of attack to the east, trying to encircle remaining capitalist forces in Latvia. In late April, Portuguese army enters Vilna, pinning down Soviet tanks and stopping the advance. At the same time, Zhukov Mechanized Corps arrived from Finland and breaking through Molodechno, encircling Romanian Chinese Han-Eurasian expeditionary force at the north. The 5 months offensive significantly depleted the Soviet armies at the Baltics. The capitalists gathered overwhelming ground and air forces, moving into an offensive from Königsberg and Vilna. In late May, they encircled 4 our divisions at Kaunas. Zhukov troops managed to deblock encircled units and stabilize the front line. Baltic strategic offensive operation comes to an end. Offensive towards Poland is delayed due to the lack of resources. Zhukov Mechanized Corps are now heading south. The French-Italian forces under the command of American General Patton launched an offensive towards the Odessa. Reinforcements arrived on time. Landing force was encircled and crushed. Odessa remains ours. While the main frontline stays still, 4th Army led by Vasily Kuznetsov finished preparations and began an offensive in Turkey. Soviet mountaineers are trained to fight in such terrain and prevails against the under-equipped Turkish infantry. By the end of summer, 4th Army expands the front line towards important port Trabzon, from which we could prepare further advance into Turkey. Autumn 1936, the United Armies renewed the offensive in the Baltics. In October, Stalin decides to reshuffle his generals. Blücher and Tukhachevsky are removed from their posts. Later, they will be charged in the case of the anti-Soviet Trotskyist military organization. All Soviet mechanized forces now is united into 3rd Tank Army under the command of Marshal Zhukov and General Rokossovsky. In November, 3rd Tank Army started an offensive towards southwest, aiming to take Warsaw. But by this time, the capitalists gathered hundreds of thousands soldiers per tile. This dramatically slows the offensive. But Soviet army has no limits. On December 9th, the Red tanks forced the river Namunas, continuing grinding push towards Königsberg. On January 20th, Communist armor finally entered the Prussian capital, where the Third Army decided to stop for a winter. The year 1936 ends with Stalin achieving victories in Finland, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. The capitalists were repelled in Belarus, Ukraine and Turkey. Democrats are also suffering in Siberia, having literally no supply there. The offensives in the Baltics and Königsberg significantly weakened Soviet Northern Army Group. USSR is starting painful military reforms and walks early into the third five-year plan, which aims to achieve a breakthrough in military production output and quality both. In the year 1937, the capitalists mobilized and reinforced their troops, which gave them possibility to conduct offensive operations all over Europe. USSR switched to more defensive strategy, conducting limited counter-offensive operations and circling countless capitalist troops. In Lithuania, the United Armies achieved limited success, forcing Soviet troops to retreat from Königsberg and Kaunas. The year 1937 came to an end as our tanks were clearing out encirclements in Lithuania, hundreds of thousands of soldiers in every encirclement. The year 1938 began with new challenges for the Soviet Union. The Democrats totally overwhelmed our troops in Lithuania and Zemgala region. So we set up defenses at Riga along its river. This frees up 4 tank divisions for Ukraine. There, United Armies seized the city of Odessa. Unfortunately, Rokossovsky failed to retake the city due to supply problems, and tank forces needed elsewhere. We will liberate Odessa later. In late August, British decides to take rematch for the Battle of Sevastopol. The year 1938 ends with our enemies making slight advances in Ukraine and Baltics. By summer 1939, we were improving our armored forces and expanding infantry to hold the goddamn front line. In July 1939, we launched an offensive aiming to liberate Odessa. This time, main strike was delivered towards Chisinau. After liberating the capital of Moldova, our tanks broke south, reaching the Black Sea. 40 Allied divisions found themselves encircled in Odessa. In August 13, the city was liberated, as Papa Stalin promised. Triumph in Odessa showed that the Red Army is ready to take down capitalist countries, one by one. The first one is Romania. Without them, Europe will have to deliver oil for their tanks and planes all the way from Asia or America. Before capitalists recovered from recent defeat in the region, the Red Tank Army delivered another one. In October, we took Bucharest. In November, Bulgaria capitulated. Why Bulgaria? Because Allies cowardly entrenched in Transylvania, holding the mountains, and it took 2 more months to capitulate them. After Romania, Stalin decided to take out Turkey. At the first stages of the operation, the offensive was going well, but then it ended up in total nightmare. Capitalists broke 100 divisions into mountains along the Aegean Sea, but Stalin was all in into Turkey. For the next two years, Zhukov was struggling around Izmir, and in June 1942 finally took this bloody city. In November 1942, the mechanized army arrived in Finland to show the capitalists where they belong. By spring 1943, most of Finland was liberated. Marshal Yeremenko began to build supply hub for further offensive towards Sapmi, Sweden and Norway. In the meanwhile, the Red Tank Army arrived in Latvia and Belarus, starting the offensive towards the northern Poland. The Red Beast returned, now 10 times stronger and 20% cooler. The capitalist cover was slammed like they are nothing but flies. In May 1933, Soviet tanks entered the city of Warsaw. No miracle on Vitsula this time. From Polish capital, Zhukov tanks continue advance towards southeast, meeting up with Ukrainian front at Kovel. That's another million soldiers encirclement. In October 1943, Polish Republic capitulates, satisfying Stalin's desire. After Poland, Stalin orders to liberate our Slav brothers in Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia. Along the way, the Red Army will grab Hungary, because why not? After securing the Yugoslavia and Greece, the capitalist's strongest army must be taken down. Deutschland is the next. 4 Japanese divisions fell to hold Berlin. In October 15, 1944, our soldiers raised the flag over the Reichstag. The fighting in Germany stressed Stalin a lot, so now he ordered the Red Tanks to take Italy and find him a good villa there. one by the beautiful mountains. Stalin's orders will complete in mere months, with fall of eternal city. Rome is red. By May 1945, Europe was totally liberated by the communist forces, with only Great Britain staying alive. Only La Manche stands between British Isles and Soviet control over the Europe. But by this time, whole continent works in the good of the world's revolution. Thousands of planes and hundreds of the red ships takes up supremacy in the Channel, and on May 21st, Soviet Marines setting up foot on England. In just 1 week, Marines secured the landing site and organized a parade in London. With Soviet armor arrive, British troops had no chances to hold the Isles and retreated to the America. Until June 1946, the Soviet Navy was clearing the path for the Marines landing in America. By September, Georgy Zhukov finished preparations for American strategic offensive operation, unleashing steel hell on the US soldiers. George Patton, once commanding an invasion landing in Odessa, now giving up Washington to the Soviet soldiers. How ironic. In October 1946, the United States capitulates, leaving no worthy opponents for us. The Allies kept their useless resistance. The next capitalist headquarters is located in Tokyo. In February 1948, the Red Marines is landing in the Hokkaido island, and soon establish control of the whole Japan. After Japan, the capitalist loyalists retreated to the Chinese mountains and the jungles of the Amazon. By May 28, 1949, the last Allied army located in Brazil capitulates, ending up 13 years of bloody war, resulting in 130 million of military casualties. Anti-revolutionary forces will continue their petty struggle against the communist government in Moscow, but they will not achieve any notable success. Just in 13 years, the world revolution spread across the planet and ended in complete and unconditional success for the Soviet Union. Tavarishi, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you like what I'm doing. See ya!